Has Eglin Air Force Base been the home of a successful UFO reverse engineering program for over 4 decades? Yeah, you're going to want to hear what I just stumbled across. You're probably already aware that back in July, the current Eglin base commander was very publicly accused of denying 3 members of Congress access to UAP-related information that was brought to Representative Gates' attention by Air Force pilots. But you're probably not aware that back in 1978, 10 Air Force ROTC cadets, along with the lieutenant colonel that was their advisor, a lieutenant colonel that later became a U.S. congressman, were given a lot more information about UFOs than Gates, Luna, and Burchett received. Because way back on a sunny March morning in Florida over 45 years ago, a tour bus of cadets saw something in one of the Air Force hangars that they weren't supposed to see. And it was something they all stayed quiet about for over 40 years. But in 2019, one of those cadets submitted his account of that day to Newfork because, quote, "What the hell? I'm 60 and dying of cancer. What can they do to me?" According to his report, he and 9 other cadets were on a tour of Eglin Air Force Base on March 1st, 1978. Their blue and gray Air Force bus was traversing the flight line of many large hangars when they came to a stop at a crossroads. It was then when he happened to look to his left into an open hangar door and he saw a craft. A saucer-shaped craft, which was approximately 30 feet in diameter and equipped with a dome on the top, and 3 spindly-looking legs on the bottom that seemed too small to support the bulk of the craft. He called it to the attention of the other cadets as well as the officer, and they all began to take pictures of the object, which was adorned with U.S. Air Force markings on the upper portion. They all stared at the object in stunned disbelief for about 4 minutes. Then the officer put the bus in drive and continued down the flight line. But after only traveling about 50 feet, the bus was swarmed by Air Force security police, dressed in full combat gear and pouring out of jeeps and trucks. Air Force officers entered the bus, took everyone's camera, and removed the film on the spot. The cadets were then hustled to nearby offices where they were officially debriefed and sworn to secrecy under the threat of lengthy prison sentences. I know what you're saying, and I agree. It could have just been a piece of top secret US tech, maybe even a super advanced weather balloon. But I found another report that, if true, leads credence to the potential that the object the cadets saw was not made from human hands. Because according to this report, sometime before 1970, the owner of a commercial drilling company in Florida was contacted by the Air Force, and he was asked to gather up his best drilling equipment and take it to an unnamed Air Force base in Florida. When the drilling rig arrived at the base, he was escorted to a hangar that had 3 saucer-like craft within it, and it was there that he learned why the Air Force base had contacted him. He was instructed to drill into one of the saucers in an attempt to breach its hull. So after setting up his rig over one of the craft, he drilled in one spot on it for 15 continuous minutes. But his efforts were futile, because when he stopped his drill and they performed a close inspection, they discovered that there was no damage to the craft or even marks on its surface. No heat or color changes, no nothing. So, are these reports evidence of a U.S. crash retrieval and reverse engineering program? Sadly, no, it's not direct evidence, but they are a contribution to mountains of indirect evidence. But I'm sharing them in the hope that this will encourage others to share their similar accounts with someone, in an effort to further reduce the stigma around talking about UFOs, and to encourage people to get their stories into the public realm instead of taking it to their graves. There were 10 other people on that Air Force bus in 1978. And untold thousands of people out there that have been witness to even more incredible events. And we want to hear from you. Don't place the full burden of exposing the truth on the shoulders of the younger generation. Instead, consider contributing to something that could change the way we see the world forever. Consider following the lead of someone that kept his encounter a secret for over 20 years, and heed his call to action. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the fearless and incredibly credible Mr. Scott Cassell.
There's a lot of people walking around that have seen stuff. And I got to tell you, if you're listening to me right now, thanks to Martin and this podcast, Miss, tell somebody like Martin, pick up the phone, because there's a community of people out there that really want to hear this information. They're going to allow you to get this off your chest, and they're going to keep it close to their chest and talk with you about what level of information they want to release. And they can keep you completely unknown if that's what you want. But I found it incredibly therapeutic to talk about this.